What's going on, y'all? Thank you for coming to my channel. My name is Wally, and you are now tuned into PBH TV.
Hey, this the king of melodies beat.
We got a new one for y'all today on deck. You hear me? Hey, I got a new one on deck for y'all today. This got to do with the Michigan school shooter. You understand what I mean? Yes. Guess what? They gave young boy life with no parole because what he did was real gruesome. You understand what I mean? It was not a good deed that he did. You understand what I mean? So with that being said, let's see the judge sentence him and see exactly what it was that he did. Sit back and react with your boy, and don't forget, consider subscribing. It'll only help it push it to more people. Let's go, baby.
Score defendant's extensive planning and execution in this case enough. He practiced shooting at a gun range. He practiced racking and unracking the gun. And on November 30th, 2021, he could have chose not to conduct the school shooting. When his parents were called to the school on that morning for his drawings, he could have said something then. He had a gun in his backpack at that time. When the school counselor advised the parents to please get him help within the next 48 hours, he could have stopped then and simply accepted the help that was going to be offered for him.
So basically, it looked like they knew he was a terror, or he had the capabilities of doing something out of the ordinary, right? But somehow they refused to help. Unbelievable. They could have saved a lot of lives, yo.
Because according to the reports, his mother said that she'd get him the help. He could have changed his mind. Unfortunately, after shooting the first person, Phoebe Arthur, he could have changed his mind at that point. But he didn't. He continued to walk through the school, picking and choosing who was going to die. As the defendant said in his own words, this is nobody's fault but his own.
Yo, I despise people like this. Like, he's battling his own demons, and instead of him dealing with it the right way, he gonna bring the pain on other people for no reason, only for his own selfishness. You get me?
He stated this afternoon that with help, that probably would not have stopped him. That is absolutely concerning to this court.
That's why he got life on no parole.
The court apologized to the victim for the bluntness, but defendant shot and killed Justin Schilling at point blank range after having him get down on his knees in front of another student. He shot Hannah, who was already shot once before. He went up to her to finish the job by shooting her again. That is crazy. An execution. That is torture.
Facts, yo.
He shot most people multiple times. And as he wrote, he did this for notoriety. And he wanted to go down in history as the biggest school shooter in Michigan history.
Now, why do we have this kind of problem in America? I mean, do you see this happening in other countries? I don't really see school shooters in any other countries but the US. I mean, is it the video games? I mean, what's propagating this? Y'all let me know. Where is this coming from? Where is the source from this? Where is the main source? Why are kids taking their problematic situations and going to a public setting to only unleash nothing but demons? Why do they do this for? I don't get it.
The court cannot ignore the deep trauma defendant caused to the state of Michigan, but in particular the Oxford community. The court simply cannot ignore that. The court notes that teachers and students returned to Oxford High School after this tragic event. The court cannot even fathom or imagine walking through the halls of that school knowing that your fellow student, your friend, your classmate was killed in a restroom or in the hallway.
Word.
Most, if not all of the letters that I read advised the court that there are a significant number of people in Oxford that now have PTSD, that now have survivor's guilt and deep depression that arose from this incident.
Now, this right here will give you a lifetime of trauma. You understand? To deal with something like this, seeing your fellow classmates just get unalive like that, nah, that is not a good look, yo.
Defendant's actions clearly created a new normal for all of the individuals involved, and all of those indirectly impacted as well. Unfortunately, this is what the defendant wanted, as he wrote in his journal. He wanted to see the impact of his crime, which is why he did not take his own life. Again, this goes back to the defendant's
That's
extensive planning.
He planned this whole thing out, and he wanted to see the end result. He wanted to see how it would all play out. You understand me? So even him getting life, I believe he was willing to receive that. He didn't care because, like he said, he planned this all out.
He chose not to die on that day because he wanted the notoriety. The terror that he caused in the state of Michigan and in Oxford is a true act of terrorism.
Homegrown at that.
Respectfully, defendant is the rare juvenile before this court. The court, having read the PSI and being fully familiar, but before I get that, I will also note that counsel brought up an issue of making bombs for Hitler. The court, that does not change the court's opinion about the defendant's obsession with violence. I thank Ms. Hott for bringing that to my attention, but it still does not change the court's opinion about him being obsessed with violence, because his obsession was also outlined in the websites that he visited. His obsession was also outlined in his extensive drawings of violence.
You see, the main issue is at home. Somebody was not doing a job. Someone was not diligent enough to see what he's doing. Look what he's saying. Obviously at home, someone could have saw this already, you know. Obviously at home, someone should have seen this at home. I don't know why they let this one slip out their hands. That's ridiculous.
And his obsession continued, as I noted in the court's opinion in order, even while he was in the Oakland County Jail. With that, the court, having read the PSI and being fully familiar with the defendant and the underlying facts of this case, believes that it is in the best interest of justice, as well as proportionate to the needs of this case, to sentence defendant as follows. As it relates to docket 2022-279-506 FC, count 1, terrorism causing death. Sentences of the court is that defendant shall serve life without the possibility of parole, credit for 8 days served. Counts 2 through 5, homicide, first degree, premeditated murder, juvenile defendant. Sentence of the court is that defendant shall serve the rest of his life without the possibility of parole with the Michigan Department of Corrections, credit for 8 days served.
So look at that. He only did 8 days of the rest of his life. You understand me? Yo, I gotta be careful out here with these decisions. I'm telling you, start watching your children. You could actually save them and many others. You get me?
On counts 6 through 12, assault with intent to murder. On each of the counts, defendant is sentenced to 18 years and 9 months to 80 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections, credit for 8 days served. On counts 13 through 24, those being felony firearm, defendant is sentenced to 2 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections on each of those counts with credit for 730 days served. Counts 1 through 12 are concurrent to each other, and counts 13 through 24 are concurrent to each other. Count 1 is consecutive to count 13. Count 2 is consecutive to count 14. Count 3 is consecutive to count 15. Count 4 is consecutive to count 16. Count 5 is consecutive to count 17. Count 6 is consecutive to count 18.
Why don't they just say, look, you going to jail and you never going home, and that is it? All this count to the 4th, to the 5th power, like, yo, they need to stop that. I don't even know what 100 years is. Like, how do you give somebody 400 years, 500 years? Just say, look, you're not going home. That's it.
Count 7 is consecutive to count 19. Count 8 is consecutive to count 20. Count 9 is consecutive to count 21. Count 10 is consecutive to count 22. Count 11 is consecutive to 23. And count 12 is consecutive to count 24.
This is a waste
All
of
of those
taxpayers' dollars.
consecutive counts are by
Should've went
reason
straight
of
to the slammer.
felony firearm statute. Is there a challenge to restitution here?
There is not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Restitution will be set in the amount of $20,781. State costs will be set in the amount of $1,632.
Well, you know what they say, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I guess he earned his own stripes. Well, with that being said, make sure you go in the comments, run it up, flood it up. Let me know what's your thoughts if you're aware about the situation. If not, go ahead and hit the link in my description. You'll see the full video there, all right? With that being said, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell. Love, y'all. Also rest in peace to any families or lives lost, all right? Love.